Hey guys, Tim at LinespeedJedi.com, and today I want to talk about the differences between underhand and regular or traditional spey casting. The underhand casting I'm talking about is, for our purposes here, is the kind that Goran Andersson made popular, and it's short shooting heads for limited backcast room. They use super long leaders, like you'll have, say, a 12-foot rod with a 30-foot floating shooting head and a 17-foot mono leader. That would be a Goran Andersson style underhand casting setup right there. So why would you underhand cast? That's a good question. You would underhand cast. Actually, I don't know, because I'm not really an underhand casting guy, but they use it for Atlantic salmon fishing because they like the touch and go casting that only anchors your leader. That long leader is for anchoring. So if a cast for a traditional spey cast, you lift, push out a little bit, and then sweep with your body to where your toes are pointing, and then drift and fire. Then a underhand cast, start that lift with your hand on your hip or whatever this part is. Lift slow, rotate, half circle, and then and the only thing that's supposed to anchor is that 17-foot leader or 15-foot. I just anchored my 17-foot leader at about 10 feet of line. We're going to lift slow till our forearm is level, and then when we do our half circle with our bottom hand, that's going to be slow too. Around. Okay. Lift slow, sweep slow, accelerate to a hard stop, and a high stop with your rod tip. Those are some of the important elements of underhand casting that will at least help you, if you don't want to do it, or you at least want to know the difference. That's what it is. See, it's a really slow lift and sweep because of that short shooting head. That's all you need. Okay, here's a little tip that will really help you if you want to do touch and go casting and you want to do a single spey. I suggest a spiral spey where you just lift your rod and do a circle counterclockwise and then do your single spey. So instead of lifting, sweeping, half circle, forward cast, you draw a little circle in the air, and it's really not that hard, even if you're a beginner. You want a single spey, you lift, draw a circle, and the reason it works so good is you draw that circle, that spiral, and it anchors your if you want to do it underhand, or if you want to do it Scandi, or however you want to do it, it just basically anchors your fly line for you and gives you plenty of time to make a single spey cast. That is like the easiest spey cast in the world for touch and go. The regular snake roll is pretty easy too, but the spiral single or the reverse snake, whatever you call it, drawing a little circle in the air. That is like really, really easy. It's fun. You can hardly blow an anchor if you try. It's a great way to cast. If you're gonna do underhand, learn to draw the little circle with that super short head. Okay, here's the thing about the little circle, the spiral spay or whatever you want to call it, or underhand or even Scandi casting. You don't need the really sharp dynamic D-loop. All you need is a light anchor. It's a really light anchor where you're just kissing the water with that mono leader, or if you're Scandi casting and you're anchoring a little bit more because you use shorter leaders, those short heads, it's hard to get a dynamic point or sharp pointy V-loop. So if you can just get a nice kiss, then that short line and the proper forward cast is just gonna skyrocket out of there. You don't need a fancy D-loop. You just need good timing, light anchor.
Stop.
Yeah, hands close together, fingers loose. Another thing, the reason you keep your fingers loose is the same reason if you're pounding a nail with a hammer. If you hold that hammer loose and let the hammer do the work, it's a lot easier on your body. And it's a lot more powerful than gripping that thing like a death grip and just squeezing that hammer. It'll wear your hand out, it'll hurt your hand. If you use a loose grip, short together, you get a lot of leverage. Oh, fish on. You get a lot of leverage and still a fairly long casting stroke. And that line just shoots out of there. It's a fun way to cast. So here are the key points to remember about underhand casting. Just a few key points. There's a lot more points. This is like something so a guy that's super green can look on this video and get just an idea. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because underhand casters never use a parry poke. The reason I wanted to do this is because if you don't get that good casting is good casting, and then there's styles in there that if you mix them up, you'll get really confused. So say you want to learn how to cast a spay line so you can cast a mid-belly spay line. So it's not going to do you much good to do a lift, to put your hands really close together and do a lift that's with your hand on your body, and then do a little half circle and then do your little pop. That's not gonna cut it with a long belly spay line. So it can get really confusing when somebody says, well, I underhand cast my long bellies, and what they really mean is, you know, they like to use a lot of underhand cast, underhand power in the forward cast. But so while you can use a lot of underhand, and you should use a lot of your lower hand, it's not quote unquote underhand casting. So let's try to do one again. I'm going to point towards the target and rotate towards the dangle. Lift slow, rotate, half circle. I'm not very good at making that pop. You're supposed to make it pop when your bottom hand hits. My problem is when I try to make it pop, I just slam it. And a good forward cast should be just like a good forward cast when you're regular casting. It should start out, it shouldn't just be a wham, it should be smooth acceleration and a positive stop. But if you're not hitting yourself in the body, you're not really underhand casting. If you want to cast underhand like Goran Andersson, you should do that. But if you want to be a long belly caster, then you can't, I don't say you can't, but you may run into some difficulty if you try to use the Goran Andersson techniques with a really long line. If you really like the idea of underhand casting, you should go to YouTube, look up Klaus Frimmer at the Montana Trout Spay Clave or whatever it's called. Just YouTube it, and you can watch that thing. It's like 20 minutes or half an hour, and if you can watch it over and over and over. He's got so many little nuggets in there that it's practically a course in itself, but he just tells you how to do it. He's not going to hold your hand, but he's going to tell you how to do it. There's enough there. You can slow it down. You can watch what he does, and you can learn a bunch. He goes through using the long leader. He goes through using the underhand style one-handed, because you can still use it single-handed. You use the bottom hand for your double haul on your single-handers, but he still uses the long leader and the short shooting hit. But he also uses, little Skagit lines with sink tips on them, and he also talks about using a 28-foot full sinking line with a mono running line. So anyway, if you're interested in casting underhand, that's pretty much all I know. Oh, hang on. Start over. Okay, gonna make one cast with excessive rod noise, whipping sounds, all the stuff that you hate about bad casting. Here we go. Feet towards the target, body towards the dangle, slow lift, hands on the body, loose grip, half circle lift. Oh, got a little chirp out of her.